Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, in 1974, conducted an experiment to study heuristics and biases in human psychology. This experiment was conducted with two groups separately. A question was displayed to the participants, and they were asked to estimate the answer within 5 seconds. For Group 1, this was the question. And for Group 2, this was the question. After the experiment was complete, these were the results. First group gave a median estimate of 512, whereas second group gave a median estimate of 2250. Now, same question was asked from both groups, but in different form. Then why such a huge difference? One group estimated 512, and other group jumped the estimate by around 340% to answer 2250. The correct answer to the question is 40,320. Now, you might ask, why such a huge difference? The answer is anchoring effect. In first group, participants started calculating 1 multiply 2 multiply 3 multiply 4, and due to time restrictions estimated a small number based on this. In second group, participants started calculating 8 multiply 7 multiply 6 multiply 5, and due to time restrictions estimated a relatively large number based on this. But the adjustments made by both the groups were insufficient. Today we will explore this intriguing concept and find out. What is anchoring bias? How does it happen? Why does it happen? How can we control and minimize it? Why are all retail's items priced with ending 9 like $9.99, $7.99 or $10.99? Why retailers show two different prices for every item, one original which is cut and other is current price? Its impact on family, parenting, and cultures. We will conduct experiments to see it working in real time. We will see how marketers and retailers use this effect to manipulate consumers using techniques like charm prices and decoy pricing. We will discuss controversial study done on court judges, which reveals the dark side of justice system. And a lot more, so tighten your seatbelts as it is a long, controversial, and eye-opening ride. According to psychology, anchoring bias is a heuristic or mental shortcut that relies too heavily on the first information we receive, or which is easily available in brain concerning a subject when we are making estimations, predictions, judgments, or decisions. This information serves as a basis or anchor on which we process out thoughts. But this information is usually not sufficient, and we make poor choice in the process. Let's take an example. Suppose you are in a test, and you encounter this question. What is the year of Hiroshima bombing? Now, you don't know the exact answer, but you know things like Hiroshima bombing took place during World War II, and Japan surrendered after the bombing, ending the war. You also know that World War II happened around 1938 to 1945. So, using this information, you can make an educated guess that Hiroshima bombing took place in 1945, which is correct. Now, you would think that anchoring plays a vital and positive role in thinking and decision-making, and it usually does, in situations like the Hiroshima test question, and it helped early humans in survival while hunting, avoiding predators, gathering food, etc. But the issue is, we don't encounter such questions in our daily lives, and we are not early humans whose priority is just survival. Anchoring works unconsciously all the time when we are making decisions and judgments, even when we don't need it. Around 2006 in United States, there were trends in gasoline prices. Initially, the price was around $1.85 per gallon, and they started to increase. As the price reached around $3 per gallon, consumers started showing negative sentiments. This was because consumers were anchored to a price below $2 per gallon. Finally, the price was settled above $3 per gallon. At that time, people reset their psychological anchor to $3. After that, price of gasoline declined and settled around $2.5 per gallon, and the consumers were very happy about it. Now, when you see, same consumers who were earlier negative about the prices above $2 were now happy, although the price did increase from $1.85 to $2.5 per gallon. Anchoring played its role. Gasoline prices were increased and consumers were happy about it. Politicians use similar tricks during elections all the time to sway citizens. An advertisement was published in an economics magazine where consumers were given 3 subscription options. Option 1, web-only subscription for only $59. Option 2, print-only subscription for only $125. Option 3, both web and print subscription for only $125. Now this pricing looks stupid because price for both option 2 and 3 subscription is same. But this is not stupid. It is a very clever technique which marketers play with consumers all the time. As expected, no one opted for option 2, and most people chose option 3 of both web and print subscription, and some people chose option 1. In the second ad, option 2 was removed from the pricing, and consumers were only given the option of either web-only or both web and print subscription at the same price of $59 and $125 as earlier. Normally, it should not make any difference because nobody chose option 2 earlier, but interestingly, this time, most consumers opted for web-only subscription for $59 and very few chose the other option. Now the question is, why? There was no price difference in both the ads, then why different results from consumers? The answer is anchoring effect. In first ad, option 2 served as an anchor which made option 3 look best, more appealing, and more valuable as compared to others, so people chose it most. In the second ad, there was no anchor and people chose according to their requirement. This strategy of including an extra option in pricing to make the consumers choose the expensive option is called decoy pricing, or asymmetric dominance effect. In this strategy, consumers don't make the judgment according to their requirements, but based on what is best, appealing, or more valuable. This type of technique is mostly used in online subscriptions and restaurants, where there are 3 options of small, medium, and large portions. Visit any store you like, and you will find prices of all items ending with 9, like $9.99, $49, or $14.99. And I am pretty sure everyone would have wondered this at least once in their life. Why does all prices end with 9? Why not other number like 0, which is easy for calculations, or any other number like 4 or 8? Researchers at MIT College and University of Chicago had the same question. So, they conducted an experiment. In this experiment, a standard woman's clothing item was put on sale using 3 different prices of $34, $39, and $44. Researchers expected the item to sell most at the price of $34. Any normal person would expect the same, most sales at the cheapest price. After the experiment was complete, researchers found that most people bought the item when the price was $39. After that, 23 more experiments were conducted in different scenarios to test this phenomenon of magic number 9. The result of all experiments was same. Prices ending with 9 performed the best, and this is not it. Sale of such items was high by average of 24% as compared to other pricing techniques. So, this type of pricing was termed as charm prices. It works like this. When you see a price ending with 9 like $39, neurologically, you perceive it as 30, although it is just $1 less than 40. Same goes with other prices. 9.99 is perceived as 9 instead of 10, and $14.99 is perceived as $1,400 instead of $1,500. If you open Amazon, Walmart, or any other e-commerce website, you will see prices like these. List price, which is higher, is usually cut off showing the discount followed by a lower price. This is because the higher price acts as an anchor to compare the selling price, and this comparison makes consumers feel good about their decision of buying at the discount. Let's test this. Suppose you want to buy a black shirt, and you have these 2 options. Which one will you buy? Option 1 or 2? Final price of both the shirts is same, but almost all of us will choose the second option, as neurologically we will perceive it as more valuable and a better deal. Now, some of you might say, option 2 is a better deal because the original price is high. If we only check the price, then it is a good deal. But what about the fabric? Does it count while considering it a good deal? Or just the price makes all the difference? Let me add more details to these options. Both option 1 and 2 are from the same brand and uses the same fabric. The only difference is that option 1 is a fresh stock from last week, according to current fashion trends, and option 2 was first introduced in last Black Friday sale, and very few people purchased it as compared to other similar items. Now, which option is the better deal? Option 1 from the fresh stock or option 2 which nobody bought in last season? I will choose option 1, no doubt about it. This is just one of the anchoring trick retailers play with consumers when they want to clear their old stock, increase the original price, and offer a discount to make it look more appealing and a better deal. Other anchoring tricks include display of expensive items in the front showcase so that it acts as an anchor, and when you find a cheaper item inside the store, you consider it a good deal. Same reason, most restaurants' menus start with their cheap items first, like starters, so it acts as an anchor, and you consider the restaurant as budget-friendly. Same reason, used car sellers will show you the expensive car first, so that it acts as an anchor, and you find relatively cheap options which seller shows later as a better deal, because you compare it with the price of the first car, the anchor. Same goes with real estate agents. All these businesses use anchoring to their advantage. The items that you buy are not cheap. You just perceive them as cheap compared to the anchor. Retailers and sellers all along wanted to sell you the options they show later, but by introducing an anchor first, you don't do much bargaining and consider it a good deal. And since you consider it a good deal, the idea of checking other retailers and sellers sounds worthless because you already have a good deal, but another seller down the block was selling the same car model $500 less than what you paid for. There are two widely accepted hypotheses which describes the working of anchoring bias. Let's explore them and do an experiment to see their working. First is anchor and adjust hypothesis. It states that when we try to make estimations or predictions, we begin with some initial value or starting point, which serves as an anchor, and then adjust it according to our knowledge, experience, and information easily available. We get this anchor externally in case of shopping and restaurants, or it comes internally from our memory as we saw in case of Hiroshima bombing test. Let's do an experiment to test this. I want to buy a sofa, and I came across this. The price of this sofa is $1,259.99. I found this similar sofa as well. Now I want you to estimate the price of this sofa and write it down in the comments. We'll come back to it later. Second hypothesis is the selective accessibility. It states that when we are exposed to an anchor, it primes us to retrieve information that is consistent with the anchor. In other words, the information that supports the anchor is considered valid, and others are discarded. Let's do an experiment to test this. Answer this question. Whether the total number of islands that comes under Indonesia are more or less than 4,200. Write down your answer in comments. Now, next question is, how many islands are there in Indonesia? Write down your answer in comments for this as well. For the successful experiment, please don't search the internet for answers. We'll come back to both these experiments later. There are several reasons why anchoring affects our decisions. First reason is evolutionary psychology. As mentioned earlier, anchoring helped early humans in survival by making decisions quickly under uncertainty. Those survival conditions changed drastically in modern world, but our evolution was negligible. Second reason is that we have limited time and energy. Majority of decisions like shopping requires efforts and energy to determine the best course of action, which includes doing research, looking for alternate information, etc. So we use mental shortcuts like anchoring to save time and energy. If the information aligns with the expectations and decision feels good, which it usually does because retailer has played the anchoring trick, we accept it as best course of action. Third reason is we are inherently lazy. Our love for convenience encourages anchoring. Fourth reason is overconfidence in our ability to take correct decisions and belief in personal accuracy. Anchoring is not just limited to consumers and retailers. It impacts our relationships, parenting, beliefs, and cultures as well. You might have heard of the phrase, "first impression matters," or "first impression is the most important." This is because first impression acts as an anchor, using which we judge new people. This anchor gives rise to another bias known as halo effect. If first impression is good, then all other interactions will be filtered through that good anchor, discarding bad things. And if first impression is bad, then everything is filtered through that bad anchor, discarding good things. Same thing happens when we are looking for a partner. In case of parenting, let's discuss this with an example. Jack is born in the family where daily exercise and healthy habits are a daily routine, and Jill is born in the family where health is not considered a priority. Daily exercise and healthy habits will act as anchor throughout Jack's life and will be followed on a regular basis. Whereas for Jill, exercise and healthy habits will be a troublesome affair. That's why it is said, if you want to teach something to a child, show them by doing it instead of telling them. Anchoring also gives rise to cultural bias and ethnocentrism. Our beliefs, society, and culture acts as our anchor. We see ourselves as normal, and when we meet new cultures, we judge them against our anchors and consider them as strange or even bad. Our anchors naturally makes us believe that our culture and way of doing things is the only best way to live. Anchoring is not just limited to normal people, it also affects experts as well in their field. A study was conducted on criminal judges to analyze the anchoring effect on them. In this study, judges were provided with one hypothetical case to pass the prison sentence. Along with case, they were also informed about the sentence demanded by the prosecutors. First, judges had to rate the sentence demanded by prosecutor as low, high, or accurate. After that, they had to give their judgment on the sentence. The results of the study were very disturbing. Case where prosecutor demanded 10 years of sentence, judges on an average gave a sentence of 9 to 11 years. Whereas the case where prosecutors demanded 30 years of sentence, judges on an average gave a sentence of 18 to 22 years. In this study, judgment was affected because prosecutors demanded a sentence which acted as an anchor and that influenced the final judgment. Another similar study was conducted in which judges were asked to pass the sentence. This time, judges were presented with a case of robbery by a woman. Before passing the sentence, a pair of loaded dices were thrown. These dices were rigged, so the result is always either 3 or 9. Judges who got 3 proposed a sentence of 5 months on an average, whereas the judges who got 9 proposed a sentence of 8 months on an average. In this study, random number influenced the sentence. These studies are very disturbing because it demolishes the very foundation of justice system. A more disturbing fact is that judges were not even aware of the influence these numbers have on them. I have just one question for you. Do you call it justice where judgments are just based on random numbers and not on the crime committed? If not, then why do we call it a justice system? Anchoring, like many other cognitive bias and phenomena, works unconsciously and came into existence via evolution, where each of them served a vital role in survival. These were no doubt the lifelines of our ancestors, who hunted and wandered around the globe for survival. Without these, you and me would never have been born. Humans have made a tremendous breakthrough in living conditions after agriculture and industrial revolution, that today we live in secure homes, and the only place where we fight with animals for survival is in movies. But evolution is a very slow process, and there has been negligible changes in our psychology during this time. So it is impossible to completely remove the anchoring bias, but its effects can be reduced. First, and the most important step in doing so, is by becoming aware of it and how it works. Secondly, in situations like shopping online or in the store, try to compare prices from multiple vendors to get an idea of the actual price. Third, in situations like real estate or salary negotiations, Try to set the anchor from your side instead of giving this option to other party. Like in salary negotiations, start by telling your expectations and set the anchor instead of waiting for their offer. Fourth, avoid emotional decision-making. And fifth, always get a second opinion from a friend or family and keep an open mind when new information is received. Now, coming back to our experiments. What is your estimated price for this sofa? A similar sofa costs around $1,259.99. I took these sofa samples from Walmart, and the price of this sofa is $320.99. Now, compare it with your estimation, and you are most likely to have estimated a higher price than this. Your price was mainly influenced by the price of similar sofa, which acted as an anchor. This is how retailers deceive consumers by setting an anchor. Sometimes by showing expensive products first and sometimes by giving discounts on exaggerated prices of the items. Thus, you consider it a good deal. This is anchor and adjust hypothesis. In second hypothesis, what is your estimate on the number of Indonesian islands? In this, my first question of whether the total number of islands that comes under Indonesia are more or less than 4,200 sets an anchor. And when estimating the number of islands, similar information which you have like there are X number of islands in country A and there are Y number of islands in country B becomes active in your brain. These X and Y that you know regarding other countries will influence your final answer. Their value will determine if your answer is less or more than 4,200. This is the selective assessment hypothesis. The real answer is Indonesia has 18,110 islands in total. I hope these experiments explain the working of anchoring bias. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments, and I would love to hear your views. Thank you for watching the video, and if you learned something new, please subscribe to the channel, give a thumbs up to the video, and share it with your friends.